So another thing you might need to do, and probably quite often has to be done, is editing of our data. So we'd never edit on our archive file like we have here before, so in this case we're going to go back to our temporary data file where we've got our, say for instance, this lake level data here, and we see we've got the spike in the record. So there's several ways to edit the record, but the first thing we must do, of course, is set our input and output files. So our input file is correct. Let's just double check our destination file, and it again is the same as our source. So it's our newly created file. It's not the archive, so we're okay there. So as I say, there's several ways to edit. The first way we're going to look at is to isolate this period of record, export the data, edit it in a text editor, import it back in to get rid of the spike. So we'll do that one first. So we could zoom in on this period of data with graph and zoom. So let's just go into closer to the period. We can see there's just a single, if we put points on, a single spike there caused by maybe a flosis or the telemetry coming in, a spike over that period, or it could be you're on site doing an inspection and created a wrong value that needs removed from the record. So once we've established roughly where our the fault lies or the problem lies, we can just save that period of data so we know where it happens now between the start and finish time on the 5th of July. So what we can do now is go table, list. Instead of listing the data to screen, although we can do that, if we list it to screen, we will see where that spike is. Here it is here, it jumps up here at this point here at 6 at night, 18:10. So we can see it there. We can also go table, list. This time we're going to list it to a list file. So we're going to create this text file. You can call it anything you like. In this case I've just named a dummy one here after myself. So if we write that to the text file, you can see that it's output file, even.txt. And now we want to bring that back in. We can either go externally and edit that text file through a text editor, or we can go back to the entry purpose. We want to list back to Tideda. So this time we're listing that text file back to Tideda. We're using the fully specified option. Comes up with this box here and it actually picks up our list file. If it's not there, you can browse for it. But before we put it back into our destination file here with an OK, we're going to edit it at this point. So it's a nice way of bringing up a text editor. So you see it's just Notepad, it's defaulted to because that's in our preferences. And we're going to go through to that dodgy value. See this value here, which is obviously wrong. You see it jumps up quite a lot, about 4, 5, maybe 500 millimeter jump there. So if we know the correct value, we can put that back in. But if we don't, we can just maybe delete that period. So we got to jump over a 5-minute interval there, but it's going to make no difference to the record. So once we've got rid of that spike, we can go File, Save, Close, and then go OK, which writes it back onto our temporary file here, or working file. So now if we go back and list that, we'll see the spike's been removed. And let's look at that a bit closer. If we blow up that section here where the spike was, what it tends to do is produce a gap. So we've got a 5-minute record removed, so creating a 10-minute gap in there. So we want basically just to remove that so the line just goes straight down between them. So to do that, we exit out of here. We can go into our Manage, and we want to go into our gap options here. So we go Gap, and you see it's come up with 2 5-minute gaps in this record here, and the one we're looking at is this one on the 5th of July. So if we highlight that and go Select, it puts it in the box below. When we're happy with that, removing that 5-minute, we can go Delete Selected Gaps now. Delete gaps gives you a second warning. Yes, that's gone. The plot disappears until you regraph it. So if I regraph that and blow up that period again, and we'll zoom in, you see it was up over this peak, and it's gone now, it's taken it out. So the record's nice and tidy, spike's been removed. So that's one way of removing that record. And we'll now go on to the second way of removing it. Now another way of editing that same spike, so the one we saw before here, back in, we can also do that under the graph editor. So under graph we have a special which is graph and edit. So if we use this option, again checking our destination file is correct, we can go OK to that. And if we zoom in again on this spike, and we can put our points on, so we can see that spike that needs removed. In this case we're going to use this option here, which is edit data, and that brings up another menu again, which is a point menu, a gap menu, miscellaneous, save changes and exit. So the point menu is the one we're going to use. So if we select point, it's asking us to select, delete, move, add, ramp, undo and return. So we're going to select the point we're going to edit. So if we hit select, and if we click on that point, changes color. We right click, brings us back to the menu, and we can use any of these options at this point. So we're going to leave these options today, but we're going to look at delete. So if we click on the delete and then click on that point again, it disappears. So you can see when I've hit delete, that's gone green, and that's put a line across between those 2 points. If we return, save changes, the software is asking us to our name and why. So I'm just going to put in here spike removed, and it's going to file that comment in our system. And you see the spike's now gone and the gap's been automatically replaced. So that's the second way of doing the edit. We can exit out of there, go back to our stage, spike's gone in here.